All right, let's go to John 13. All right, so we're going to look at John 13, and we're going to look at uh, syntax. So syntax is how the language is structured in sentences. So I guess it wouldn't have been last week, it would have been the week before. We looked at word studies. So that's just taking individual words, looking up their definitions, how they're used within other verses, and looking at how the sense in which they're being used. Because a word doesn't have a single meaning, it has usually it has multiple meanings depending on the context. And the context will determine what meaning the individual word has. So we looked at a few words that week, but now we're going to look at kind of the structure, how these words fit together within sentences, and how that produces meaning. You get into grammar and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get we'll look at a few things which I think will be really interesting. We'll talk about interlinears, and we'll talk about how you can get at the original language underneath the English translation. But first, I just want to read through John 13 so we can have the whole chapter in our mind. And then we can start looking at specific thoughts, which I think are really interesting. So we'll just read John 13 and then we'll get into it. So John 13. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from God and went to God, he riseth from supper, laid aside his garments, and took a towel, and girded himself. After that he poureth water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then cometh he, Simon Peter. And Peter saith unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What I do thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. Peter saith unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. Whoa. So excited to look at that. Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Simon Peter saith unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Jesus saith unto him, He that is washed needeth not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit. And ye are clean, but not all. You guys notice that? The plural. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, You're not all clean. That's like a little sidebar that John's like giving us a little more information, right? Jesus said that, but here's how you should understand this. All right, so after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments and was set down again, he said unto them, Know ye what I have done to you? You call me Master and Lord, and ye say, Well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If ye know these things, happy are ye if ye do them. I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen. But that the scripture may be fulfilled, he that eateth bread with me hath lifted up his heel against me. Now I tell you before it come, that, when it is come to pass, ye may believe that I am he. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that receiveth whomsoever I send receiveth me. And he that receiveth me, receiveth him that sent me. And when Jesus had said thus, he was troubled in his spirit, and testified, and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of whom he spake. Now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom one of his disciples, whom Jesus loved. Simon Peter therefore beckoned to him, that he should ask who it should be of whom he spake. Then he then, lying on Jesus' breast, saith unto him, Lord, who is it? And Jesus answered, He it is to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, That thou doest, do quickly. Now no man at the table knew for what intent he spake this unto him. For some of them thought, because Judas had the bag, that Jesus had said unto him, Buy those things which we have need of against the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. He then, having received the sop, went immediately out, and it was night. Therefore, when he was gone out, Jesus said, Now is the Son of Man glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God be glorified in him, God shall also glorify him in himself, and shall straightway glorify him. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You shall seek me. And as I said to the Jews, Whither I go, you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another, as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Like, what came just before this? Washing of the feet. Oh man. Rich. Simon Peter said unto the Lord, said unto him, Lord, whither goest thou? Jesus answered him, Whither I go, thou canst follow me now, but thou shalt follow me afterwards. Peter said unto him, Lord, why cannot I follow thee now? I will lay down my life for thy sake. Jesus answered him, Wilt thou lay down thy life for my sake? Verily, verily, I say unto thee, the cock shall not crow, till thou hast denied me thrice. Oof. Oof. All right. Oh, went too far. I'm in chapter 12. All right. So that was John 13. So just real quick, what are the pieces, like what happens? What's the plot? What are the points of things that happen within this chapter? It's like right at the very beginning, right? So it's the Feast of Passover. They're having a meal. What meal is that? It's Passover, but he repurposes it, and what do we usually call it? Last Supper, or it's not, yeah, Last Supper or communion, or the Lord's Supper, or something like that. So, what does Jesus do? Washes the disciples' feet. Then he finishes with that, and then what happens? So then there's something with Judas, right? So he demonstrates a principle, like does something, and then he teaches about it, and then there's the whole bit with Judas, right? And how many of you guys, when you picture the Lord's Supper, how many of you picture the famous painting, right? Okay. Here's more what you should be thinking. It's called a triclinium, and so it's like a U basically, and this is where people think people sat roughly. At least the characters, in the story, like where they would have sat. And when Jesus talks about, so when you're reading through your Bible and it says, and Jesus reclined at table, that's how they would eat. They would lay on their arm like this and have their feet. They would lie down on a mat, and they would be on their left arm, that's opposite for you, so it'd be like this. But anyways, and then they would eat with their right hand. And so their feet would be facing outwards. This. And then they would eat from the table. And the servant come in, serve the people at the table. And so when Jesus, and this is the plate, like this is the high place. This is where the host is. you have the person on his right hand and his left hand. So when James and John's mother says, "Oh, can my son sit on your right hand and left hand?" He's like, "Ah, you don't know what you're asking for." Like, there's a similar thing going on here, where you can sit on Jesus' right hand or left hand, and it's a place of honor. But also, as you're going around, this is like the lowest seat here. As you come around this way, it's like higher honor as you go around, besides the highest seat where the host is. And so Peter is sitting across. That's also a seat of high honor, but it's also the servant's seat. So someone that's serving the meal would sit there. And what's interesting is Jesus, being the host, would not be doing the serving. Right? There would be a servant that would do the serving. But he takes his clothes off. He basically gets down to his skivvies. He ties a large towel, long enough to cover himself, but also long enough to like pull it up and dry their feet. And he goes around the outside because all their feet are sticking out this way. And he grabs the basin, fills it with water, and he washes their feet as he goes around. And that's why when he gets to the end, Peter's at the end. Or that's why people think that Peter's right here, because what we see, and as we read it through, it's like, oh, he gets to Peter and he's like, "No, you're not ever going to wash my feet." But that's what you should have in mind. So this would be like the cultural historical part of the study. Like when you're reading through John 13, what are you visualizing? Well, if you do a little bit of cultural historical study, like this is the picture that you should have in your mind. This is what's happening. And so as he's going around, he's washing their feet. Like that's what you should have in mind. Another picture. Oh, this one's kind of small, but see how they're lying down and they're on an arm. They reach out and they eat. That. It also helps to make sense, depending on where. Like let's say this is Jesus' spot, right? You have John and Judas, and it says John just like says, "Hey Jesus," right? Peter's like, "Hey, what did he say?" And John just goes, "Hey Jesus," and asks him a question. Like if he's lying right next to him, that makes sense. He's like he just kind of leans back and asks the question. He's right there. But and so here you have the servant serving in the middle. You have other servants around backside here. Here would be a servant maybe washing feet. And then here's like here's a jar. So that's what you should have in mind. All right, so there we are. Once you have that in your mind, it's a Passover feast, so that's what they're looking at. All right. That's too big. Why is that so big? Oh no. I thought I had this. Apparently I don't. Hold on. Since this is a lesson on syntax, I'm going to look at, well, there we go. Where's the other one? Okay, cool. All right, well, let's go back up to verse 1. All right, so in here, this is an interlinear. So you have, you have the Greek text right here, and then you have your translation over here. And what I've done here is I've made it show or emphasize verbs, pronouns, prepositions, and conjunctions. And the reason I did that is so that way we can see a few things with those conjunctions and those prepositions. So it says now before, and it's like, okay, that's a preposition. Before what? The Feast of the Passover. So that's what the preposition is preparing you for. Now before, and then the phrase that comes after is what is preparing you for. When Jesus knew. Okay, so we look at this, and it says Jesus knew what? He knew that, this is a conjunction. So it's like he knew something. What did he know? He knew that his hour was come. And then this is a hina clause. That's kind of like a in order that kind of thing. That he should depart out of this world unto the Father. So Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he was going to depart out of the world to his Father. That's kind of all one big chunk, right? But it all starts with this conjunction, that. Having loved his own, which were in the world, that's a participle. Or no, this is a verb. Jesus knew, that's a participle, and we'll get into how those are functioning. But this is, at least this part of the sentence, he loved them to the end. That's like the main verb. That's what all of these other participles and verbs are working towards. So it's like, what's the main point of the first sentence? That he loved them all the way to the end. And that's what these other pieces of the sentence are pointing towards and supporting. So when he's looking at, when we're looking at these words, the first one I want to look at is, I have it on prepositions and stuff. What I wanted to show was you have this preposition and then this phrase right here, and it prepares that. Then we have this participle, and it's to support these things that come after the that, right? He knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father. And then there's another participle that also shows that he loved them unto the end. It's like having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them to the end. So if I go back up here. It's going to go recalculating. This is what makes logos super powerful. Like it can show you a lot. Yeah. Yep. I was thinking real hard. How's the internet connection here? What's that? Yeah. I'm in the outer darkness. Change is bad. Oh, come on. Nope. And then it's not. All right. Well, good thing I know where the participles are. All right. So Jesus knew. He knew. This is a perfect active participle. So when it says that, so this is like the grammatical tag of the Greek word, like how it's functioning within the sentence. So in Greek, word order is not as important as in English. So in English, you would have Gerald hit the ball towards the fence, right? And you have to have it in that order for it to make sense. Because that's how our language works. In Greek, it's the ending of the words that tell you how they're working within the sentence. And so, yeah, you got to know a bunch of endings. And then so it's like you have your vocabulary word, and then you tag on different endings or different suffixes or prefixes to tell you what kind of verb and how it's functioning within the sentence. All that to say is, with perfect tense, it's an action that happens in the past that has ongoing consequences into the future. And it's really more about the state of things into the future. So, but the verb is to know. So Jesus, he knew something, but he's still knowing it, right? So a way to emphasize the like past. So knew is past tense of know, right? That makes sense. But then to emphasize like that it happened in the past and it's continuing into the future, like having known that, right? Now they chose a simple past tense when they translate it. That's fine. Like he knew this, but that doesn't get the like continuous knowing into the future. But that's also there because it's a perfect participle. What did he know that he continued to know? that his hour was come. Now, if you've read through the book of John, that's a phrase that pops up a lot. It's a repeated phrase. So this would be where your like when we talked about, now I'm going to forget the word. Your study of like the whole book, and then you get down to the passage. I don't remember what Verkler called that, and now I'm just completely drawing a blank. That's fantastic. Let me blow this up because the other one isn't working very well. There we go. It was the written contextual analysis. Written contextual analysis. That's what I was talking about. You're like, what is Gerald talking about? So when you do your written contextual analysis, it's like you want to read the whole book. You have the idea of the whole book, and then you can see how the different paragraphs fit within the rest of the book. If you've read through John, this phrase, hour was come, or that his hour had not come, you would want to see that. And let me do this. So I just looked for, when is this word hour in the Greek show up in the text. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I think it'll be a little bit easier to see if I zoom out. So, and we'll see the different uses of the word hour. So now before the feast, this is our text, right? That his hour was come. Like, okay, cool. Father, now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour, but for this cause came I unto this hour. Father, glorify thy name. So he's talking about a specific time, right? Right? The hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily I say unto you, except the corn of wheat fall to the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. So now he's talking about the time when he's going to be crucified. But John is pointing towards that his whole book. And if you are looking for repeated phrases or a repeated word, it'll become really important, and you can see a lot of meaning in what John is saying when he says, all right, the hour has finally come, and it starts at that supper. And so this is the use of hours, but it's just talking about 12 hours, right? Are there not 12 hours in the day? It's a regular use of hours. It's not a time period that Jesus is talking about. These words spake Jesus to in the treasury as he taught in the temple, for no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. It wasn't time, not yet, right? They sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him because his hour was not yet come. And again, so this is a repeated phrase through John. Oh, that's interesting. This is the word for hour, but they translate it as season. Yeah, he was a burning and shining. Oh, this is talking about John the Baptist, right? He was a burning and shining light, and you were willing for an hour, for a season, to rejoice in his light. But I have a greater witness. For the hour is coming, in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice, and they shall come forth. Ooh, now he's talking about, right, in even future time. So I just wanted to make, this is really cool. That would be a really interesting word study to do in the book of John, to see how the word hour is being used. But let's go back to John 13. So with all of when it says that his hour was come, it's like through the book of John, he's been prepping us for the hour that is to come. It's like it wasn't his time to die, so men could not lay hands on him to arrest him, to bring him before Pilate. It's like it wasn't time yet. Now it's time. That's on his mind, right? What does it mean to, where does knowing happen? In the mind, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah. Not a trick question. It's like where did knowing happens? Jesus. We're in Sunday school, so the answer is always Jesus. No, he knew something, right? Again, it's a perfect participle, so he knew and he continued to know. He knew what was coming, right? And even in chapter 12, right? Oh, not exact. It's up here, right? Basically, he knew that it was time that he was gonna die for the world. So his hour was come that he should depart out of this world. How did Jesus depart out of this world? He did. He did. That's getting to the main verb. All right. Yeah. So was it an easy departing? No. What happened to Jesus for him to depart out of the world? Yeah, it was a horror show. Awful. So he knows that that's coming, right? That's on his mind. This is what he knows, or what he knew, and what he's continuing to know. That he's departed out of this world unto the Father, right? Also with that, having loved his own which were in the world, like that's also part of it. He loved them to the end. That's the main verb. How does he love them to the very end? Now, some commentaries and stuff, they'll say that this word telos is trying to point forward to when Jesus is on the cross, and the last thing that he says is, "It is finished," right? But it's from a form of this word. It's tetelestai, and it comes from telos, right? End, finished. So some commentators are like, he's this little point right here, this one word is pointing forward all the way to the end. How did Jesus love them? He loved them all the way to the point of death, right? To the death on the cross. And it's to the "it is finished" point. And supper being ended. So that's a conjunction, right? All right, so we're still looking at things that Jesus knew. And how do I know that? If we keep reading, Jesus knowing, again, it's the same verb. He's knowing, and it's a perfect participle. So it's the same. This is interesting. This has ing, which would imply the continuous idea. And then this one's in the past tense. So what I'm thinking is they know it's going to be a repeated verb or a repeated participle. And so this one has a more continuous idea. This one has a more past idea, just by where it is in the English translation. So supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. That's like a piece of something that you need to know, right? It's almost like a little sidebar, like this is also true. So you have Jesus knows his hour is coming. He's going to depart out of this world in a horrific way. He's loved his own that were in the world. He's going to love them to the end, a horrific crucifixion end. Also, you need to know of what Jesus is knowing. Supper's ended. Devil has put into the heart of Judas Iscariot to betray him. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he was come from God and went to God, all of that is what Jesus is knowing and continuing to know. Is that a lot? And this is where, like, if you're teaching this, the emphasis here is like Jesus has a lot on his mind. Or I'll put it in the past tense. Jesus had a lot on his mind. That's what the text is giving us. And then to make an application, have you ever had a lot on your mind? Have you ever felt like the whole world was on your back? Is that where Jesus is at? Exactly where he's at. And then you could go, okay, how do you apply that? Well, it's in the next verse. He riseth from supper. So this is, to rise up, to get up, but it's a present passive indicative. So present means it's like it's happening, or it's happening and it's still going, like it's going, present, but it's passive. So that means it's like he's receiving the action. Like, think about that. It says he riseth, so that the ETH has the idea of like the continuous idea, right? It's like the same as saying like he is getting up. Is present, but getting up, like the ing is like the continuous idea. Like he is getting up from supper, but it's passive. So it's like he's receiving that action. So it's like he is being raised from the supper. Oh, it's so cool. That is so cool. It's almost like all now I'm making an interpretation based on the grammar. It's like all of this stuff is on his mind, and what does it do to him? It raises him up to serve. Is that the first thought in your mind when you're overwhelmed? No. Not at all. What's the first thing? What do we usually do when there's a lot of things going on in our mind, when we're overwhelmed by the world, by our responsibilities, by our children, by situations at work, situations with loved ones that might not be going so well. Maybe you've sinned against somebody and you're thinking about, it's like, oh, I need to confess that and seek forgiveness. It's just raging through your mind. All of those things are raging through your mind. Is the first thing that comes to mind, I should serve. Now, what do we usually do with that? I need a break. Yeah? Do we what other things how do we usually handle those situations? How do you usually handle those situations? Eat a pan of brownies, you got to get that ice cream, that pint of ice cream. It's just right. Brownies are good. Pray for less. It's like, oh God, please. Right? You do that? Complain. I mean, right? Or I close up. This is what I do. I close up and I churn and churn and churn. And I don't say anything. And Tammy goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, like she knows, right? I'm like, "Ooh, I'm in this box. I'm not. I'm not in the talk to you box right now. I'm getting there, but I'm in it, and I'm deep in it." If we look at this word, yeah, to get. Oh, this is actually this one. Okay. Yeah, the action of awakening, physically arising to stand erect, metaphorically coming alive after being dead. The word for resurrection. He loved them to the end. Like what you see how clever John is? And he put it in the perfect passive. Like Jesus is being raised. He is risen. Like that is so clever. Oh, John. Oh, I love you. I love you, John. He is being raised from the supper, and he lays aside his garments, took a towel, and girded himself. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel with which he's girded. So again, yeah, he lay. So here he is, right? And he's going around and he's washing feet. What does that imply? Nobody did. Nobody washed anybody's feet. That's the servant's job. I'm not a servant. I'm at the Lord's Supper. I made it. I'm part of the 12. I might be sitting over here in the lowest spot, but I'm in the room where it's happening. Wash people's feet. Kidding me? So, That's usually not what would happen. But because nobody did it, he did. No, not Colossians. Sorry, Philippians. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, or a slave, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Wherefore God also hath highly exalted, given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Like, that's what he's doing, is right here. He is demonstrating in this one act. I mean, he did it for, like, you could look at the whole life of Christ and like, this is zooming way out and going, what did Jesus do? He, being in the form of God, didn't think it was something that he had to just hold on to. He let it go freely. And then he became a servant to us. Like, how do you do that on the microcosm? Oh, go back one more. You do that by washing your disciples' feet. And this is like a microcosm that also is like what he's about to do. He's about to die for their sins, right? He's about to be crucified, and like he's doing, that's how he's serving them. But he's like doing this thing to foreshadow the bigger thing, because his hour had come. And it's like John is swirling these ideas all together. It's masterful. It's amazing. And then he gets to Peter. Peter's like, no. He's like, you don't understand what's going on, but you will after. And he goes, you'll never wash my feet. So this is, let me go. Oh, and I got to hurry. Blow this up. And let me remember where that was. Thou shalt, verse 8. So this is an interlinear, and we kind of talked about this last time, but it has the Greek text on the top line, and that's the Greek order. So it shows you what the text actually looked like when it was written. It has an English, very rough translation, and then it has these little numbers that tells you like it's in Greek order, but this would be the order you would read it in English. That's why they put the numbers next to it. So it'd be like, Peter says to him, in no wise mayest thou wash my feet. Right? And this is a negative. So no, mayest thou wash, and then the feet of me. It's kind of the idea. And this is a aorist active subjunctive. And because there's this negative particle with the aorist active, with the subjunctive, oh no, that's the conditional. There's no conditional. But it is a very strong, it's not the same way that I talked about it in a different time. But this is a very strong negation, like never wash my feet. And then he's like, unless I do this, you have no part. Like, this is a big deal. And then he washes their feet, and then he teaches, right? He puts his garments back on. He sits down and he says, do you know what I've done to you? Call me Master and Lord. That's good, because I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, ye ought to wash one another's feet. Present active indicative. So this is like an obligation, right? To be obligated. Yeah, to be obligatory in view of some moral or legal requirement. But it's like, it's interesting because it's like there's an obligation, But there's also this kind of, you might not do it. You ought to. But there's totally a possible world where you're not going to do this. And so it's like ought is the, it's not you must to wash one another's feet, but you ought to. Because you're modeling your life after my life. And this is what I did for you. Even when the whole world is on your mind, even then. Even when you're completely overwhelmed by the obligations that you have in your life, even then. Like, do your responsibilities as a good friend just go away when circumstances in life change? No. What about being a husband? Like, you think of Ephesians 5, and it's like, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. Does that just go away when you feel like you're completely overwhelmed? No. What should you do? Be like Jesus. And a lot of times, yeah, it is. It's 10:44. Okay, we gotta go. But this is where you can get from the text to your application, and it's based on the grammar and the words and what is the text giving you. Cool. That's where you're gonna go with your application. And all I did was I saw the verb and the participles know and knowing, and then went, oh, there's something on Jesus' mind. Okay, cool. What's on his mind? Everything is on his mind. Have I ever felt that way? I've felt that way. Certainly not to the same level that Jesus has, right? I mean, right? But I have felt that way. It's like, cool. All right, how do you apply that? Okay, this is what the very next action, very next verb is he gets up and he serves. It's like, that seems counterintuitive to every bit of wisdom that you hear from anybody, right? Think about it. But what do we see displayed? Oh, it's beautiful. Like, that's who Jesus is. That's why I'm not Jesus. That's why I can't be your savior, right? That's what makes him him. And it's amazing. That's why my faith is in him and not in me. Just preach the gospel, like just right there. You just go, like, he's the only one that could do. Oh, yes, it's oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Okay, let's